All right, so I wanted to make a video on why society and the system that we live in and the epistemic tools that we're using encourages and endorses and creates psychopaths and narcissism without you even knowing that you're doing it because it's been normalized in society, right? So how do we look at that? So like this capitalist society that we are calling a democracy is not really by the people for the people, because if that was the case, then we'd be working in a unified manner. For instance, like the way the body works. The body works, the cells work with all the organisms, that work with, all the organs in the body, that works with the whole body itself in unison without debasing any of the levels, right? So when you look at capitalism, that's the complete opposite, because in order for you to get ahead, you have to compete against essentially yourself, because we're all humans, right? So you have to compete against someone to get ahead, and that's encouraged all throughout society, because what we would consider to be a successful person or a good person at that are people who are really looked up to, right? Or people who have a lot of money, or people who have, a lot of things, or people who are highly valued in society, right? So they have they have the ability to influence a lot of people, right? So, and how that's being like propagated in a win-lose game theoretic environment. So if you take that structure and implement it, you can implement that model everywhere. So if you look at education, and even just in grade school, like, and how that's endorsed as a kid and then becomes normalized in your life in that environment, how I have to compete against the kid in my class to get a better grade, to impress the teacher, to become the best student, to get the scholarship, to get the good job, to become the person who can influence people, and how that constantly gets reinforced all throughout the process, right? So, and then even more so, like, think about this, I've thought about this, it's like the kid who gets F's because he doesn't, or he or she, they don't play good in a rivalrous nature, right? So, and then it's like they could go home and they could have extremely bad psychological issues, because maybe they're having, issues with their family because, their father or their mother want them to be this thing, and they don't even understand what that even means, right? Like what it means to be a good person in society. And it's like that's being encouraged in every possible manner whatsoever, right? And it's like, and the best representation we have of why that doesn't work is the collapse of all the current structures that we have going on right now. So it's like the economic structure, government structure, political structure, like all these structures are completely breaking down. And even it's the same thing if you look at a soccer game. Like if you take out the rivalrous nature of a soccer game, or just any game theoretic environment in general, the entire thing breaks down. It's like, if you're going to have two teams who play something like soccer, football, or whatever, and no one cares about the score, no one cares about beating the other person, no one cares about winning, the game doesn't exist anymore. And then it's like, okay, well, what happens when that happens? And it's like, how, what's going to happen if and when that happens, right? So it's like the only thing that we can try to do is to create a separate game completely that isn't in a rivalrous game theoretic environment, that's completely different and would operate in the way the body operates, as each individual level works on its own and independently, but as a whole without debasing the substrate or any level whatsoever, right? So that's where we're at.